guys, Britt here. I know it's been a really long time since anything has been uploaded to this channel. A lot's happened in my life. I graduated college and moved in with my boyfriend, even went to Comic-Con and met Christina V and Charles Martinet. Everything is good right now. I can't promise that any of us will be more active here, not even me, because I honestly don't know. But I had an idea at the back of my mind and wanted to try it out. I'm going to be discussing some recent anime that I've watched that have either come out in 2020, 2021, or this year, 2022. So, without further ado, let's get to the discussions. Starting off, we have an anime called Wonder Egg Priority, which is about a group of 4 girls who buy eggs from these 2 dudes without faces, and within the eggs are other girls who have committed suicide. The 4 main characters, that being Ai Oto, Neru Aonuma, Rika Kawai, and Momoe Sawaki, basically save these girls who have committed seppuku, and I suppose you could say they send the girls to the afterlife. I don't remember it being very clear, but they saved these girls in order to bring someone they cared about back to life, it being a friend of theirs who has also committed seppuku. I thought this show was really good, and the concept being really unique. I liked all the main characters, and I think this is one of the few anime that does a good job discussing suicide. I don't think many shows in general do that good of a job discussing the topic, so I was pleasantly surprised. However, I'd say the show takes a bit of a nosedive in quality around, say, episode 10, which is when this character named Frill gets introduced. The story kind of stops making sense because they overcomplicate things, and the last episode wasn't very good. I heard there were some creative differences behind the scenes, and the last couple episodes suffered because of it. The show probably won't get another season, but even if it did, I think the damage is already done. I'd still recommend this show to people, but I gotta warn you that while the first few episodes I think are great, episode 10 onward is not great. I'd give this show a 7 out of 10. It'd be higher if not for, like I said, episode 10 onwards. Now, I'm probably not gonna make many friends when talking about this show, but I gotta be honest. Jujutsu Kaisen didn't grab me like it did some other people. I know how popular the anime is, and I went into it with high expectations because of that, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. Granted, I didn't actually watch all of season 1. I stopped at episode 10, I think. But I was just really bored while watching it. It didn't engage me. The only character I really gave any care for is Gojo, and even then I barely remember anything about him. I don't remember the main character's name, and I just remember him jumping through like a 2nd or 3rd story window with no issues, because like, that was before he got his powers in like episode 1 or 2, so how the heck did he jump through such a high window? But I digress. I guess if you're into shonen then I'd recommend it, but personally I just couldn't really get into it myself. I won't give it a score since I didn't finish it, but give it a watch if you're interested, I suppose. Komi Can't Communicate is actually way better than I thought it'd be. I mean, its concept isn't really all that original. Self-insert male main character becomes friends with the most popular girl around town and school, and eventually popular girl ends up having feelings for the main character. Trope has been done hundreds of times. In fact, another show I'm going to discuss has that same trope. But I think the way this show portrayed it was actually pretty sweet and wholesome. Komi may be popular, but she doesn't actually have any friends. She has extreme social anxiety and has a very hard time approaching people. A lot of her classmates think she's just too perfect to be friends with them, when in reality she's just very shy. But she wants to be friends with people. She asks the main character, whose name escapes me at the moment, to be her first friend, and he agrees to help her make even more friends. It's just a show about a guy helping out a friend, really. And she does in fact make more friends, one of which I'm actually not a fan of in the slightest and wouldn't be at all upset if she were to disappear, but it's also just pretty slice of life-y, so if you like that genre then I'd recommend Komi. I also don't recall there being any fan service too, which I don't mind at all. There's one scene where she's wearing a swimsuit and is on her hands and knees, which I don't remember why she was doing that, but other than that, I don't recall any kind of fan service whatsoever, which is nice because, well, these characters are underage. I'll give Season 1 a 7 out of 10. It's not original, but it's just such a sweet show, and it was actually pretty funny sometimes. Oh, also, the music isn't bad. Here we have another show that follows the same tropes as Komi Can't Communicate, and that the main character is a self-insert for any male watching the show, and the main girl is just the waifu of the season. Very attractive, very popular, and has a lot of traits about her that makes her too good to be true for the horny dudes who are watching it. Except, unlike Komi, which I found to be a really cute and wholesome show about a girl with a communication disorder that just wants to make friends, my dress-up darling is just the typical fan service show that doesn't really do anything original, but became extremely popular anyway, because anime fans like the status quo, I guess. Now, I don't want to just be a hater for this show or whatever. There were some things that I liked about it, like Maureen's character design, which I think is really cute, and the idea of a guy making cosplay for someone because he likes Hina dolls isn't something you see all the time, I suppose. I also like the ending theme, both the song and visuals. I'd also say that the animation's pretty top-notch, but that's about all the good things I can say about it. I liked Maureen as a character at first. I thought she was funny, and I like that she's into anime, but over time I kinda stopped caring about her. It's obvious that she's just waifu bait, which sucks, because I feel like she could have been more than that. Perhaps if she was in a different anime other than this one. I think the show itself could have been a lot better too, and worthy of the praise it gets, but it's just a well-animated fan service fest, which this anime isn't labeled as ecchi, by the way, when it should be. So someone who's not into that sort of thing and maybe just wanted to watch the popular anime out right now goes into it and immediately sees panty shots and jiggly titties of the underage titular character. Yeah, Maureen is 15 years old. I know a lot of anime fans could care less about her age. After all, she's a fictional character and they think she's hot regardless. And I know nobody out there probably even cares about what I have to say on the matter, but I honestly don't care that she's fictional. It makes me uncomfortable seeing her shake her boobs that take up the whole screen and prance around half, or fully, naked everywhere. There was honestly no reason to have these characters be in high school if you were going to sexualize the females to such a degree. And you can't say, well, Britt, Maureen doesn't look or act like a 15-year-old, and you'd be completely wrong. She looks and acts her age constantly. She's always saying things like totes and hella, or doing other things that I've seen teenagers in real life do all the time, like geek out over her hobbies or surfing social media. Sure, you can say adults do stuff like that too, or whatever, but if you watch the show, you know what I mean. And what about Juju? She's apparently older than Maureen by 2 years, yet she looks like an elementary schooler, which, funnily enough, Juju's younger sister is both taller than her and has giant tits, but she's apparently only in middle school. I hate that trope with a passion. Also, when main character Kun Gojo first meets Juju, can you guess what happens? He walks in on her getting out of the shower and she slips, showing him all her goodies. Wow, so original. I can't for the life of me figure out how shows like this keep getting greenlit when it's just the same thing over and over again with no originality. I'd also like to mention that Maureen falling in love with Gojo out of the blue nowhere was expected, but honestly not necessary. I would have been more surprised if she just saw him platonically, but of course, as I said, Gojo's for the audience, particularly the male audience, to latch onto as a self-insert, and Maureen is their perfect dream girl, so it doesn't have to make any sense. Anyway, I think I ranted about this show long enough. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on! Now, I didn't watch Demon Slayer when it first aired back in 2019. I have a bad habit of avoiding things that are popular because I don't think they'll actually live up to the hype, as I felt with Jujutsu Kaisen. But I'm getting better at that and starting to form my own opinions on shows and starting to watch popular anime, and I don't regret watching this at all. I also didn't watch season 2 as soon as it came out because, well, I prefer my anime dubbed and didn't want to watch it in Japanese. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked Uzui, and his wives were, they were okay for the most part. I don't remember their names, but the whiny one got on my nerves. The other two were fine, though. It was nice seeing the main four again. Nezuko is my favorite character, and since I was watching it dubbed, I had to wait for Funimation to release the episodes every week. So, having to wait like that, I feel like I didn't get enough of her this season. But when she was on screen, you bet I was hyped. Her beating the living daylights out of Daki was so satisfying.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back, nigga! Fight back! Fight back!
And Daki still had the nerve to talk shit afterwards. But if I talk about Demon Slayer as a whole, I really like it. It's not the most unique of anime, I guess, but I enjoyed it regardless. And I'm not that big on shonen. The characters are pretty good, the animation is awesome, and the music is all bangers. When season 3 comes out, I'm gonna wait until it's dubbed before watching it like I did season 2, but I'm hyped for it. I'd give Demon Slayer an 8 out of 10. This show was a bit of an oddball. At first, I wasn't going to give it the time of day, but I had run out of stuff to watch and was curious. It wasn't that bad, actually. They could be really funny sometimes, and the art style reminds me of Deep Sea Prisoners Works, who made some RPG horror games that I'm a fan of, like Watanohara and the Deep Blue Sea. Hanako-Kun is about a ghost boy named Hanako that lives in the girls' bathroom at a high school. He meets a girl named Nene, who he becomes friends with, and they go through a lot of different ghost-related adventures together. They're kind of stuck together because Nene, quite stupidly I might add, ate the scale of a mermaid even though Hanako warned her not to, and now she's cursed. That's the basic gist of the show. There's other things I could talk about, but I think it's better to go into it yourself. Hanako is an actual Japanese ghost story, except in the ghost story Hanako is a girl and not a boy. I'm not sure why Hanako is a boy in this show since it hasn't been explained, but mayhaps in season 2 it will be. I'd give Toilet Bound Hanako-Kun a 6.5 out of 10. It was an alright show. This show is so effing cute and wholesome, and I just want to squeeze Anya and give her a hug. Spy X Family may not have a lot of episodes out right now, as it's still airing, but from what I've seen of it, I love it so much. I love all 3 of the main characters. Lloyd is a spy and is hot. Yours, an assassin, is hot and badass, and Anya is both an insanely adorable and very funny mind reader. I don't have a whole lot to say about this anime since, again, it's not finished airing yet, but I can say that I'm enjoying it quite a bit as of right now, and can't wait to watch more. So, my favorite anime happens to be the original Higurashi When They Cry from 2006. The animation may not have been the best, but I thoroughly enjoyed the story and the characters, and I'd suggest it to people into murder mysteries. When Higurashi Gou was first announced, needless to say, I was extremely excited. But upon watching it, I wasn't that impressed. Firstly, I don't think Go was advertised very well. They gave off the impression that it'd be a remake of the original anime, but that wasn't the case. It was actually a brand new season, but the first couple episodes start off similarly to the first few episodes of the original. And not like in a recap sort of way for older viewers to remember things that they may have forgotten from the original, but in a way is to get people new to the series familiar with it. But if it's just a new season and not a remake, then obviously you're making it for fans of the original, right? So we don't need to go through the same exact arcs we went through already in the old anime. That's a waste of time. Oh, and don't even get me started on Satoko. Satoko is a major character from the Higurashi series. She's best friends with another character named Rika. They've grown attached to each other because they've both had similar traumatic childhoods and decided to live together. They're like 10 years old, but no one questions them living together with no adult figure. But I digress. In the original series, Rika has this ability that she gets from another character named Hanyu, where she can basically travel to another timeline if something goes horribly wrong in the one she's currently in. Her dying over and over, really. Now, Rika has died and gone through absolute hell over hundreds of times, trying to find the right timeline where people, herself included, don't have to die and suffer miserably. She finally finds a timeline where she can be happy and actually age past 10 years old, and when she decides that she wants to go to this elite private school when she's older, she wants Satoko, her best friend, to go with her. So they both study diligently, and when they reach their teenage years, they both get into the school. Rika's super excited, and Satoko is just happy to be with her best friend, but over time, Satoko starts hating the school. Fine, whatever. It was Rika's dream anyway, and Satoko just wanted to be with her. I'd be fine with Satoko not liking the environment and being jealous of Rika spending more time with the other students than her, if it weren't for the fact that Satoko somehow gains the time travel ability that Rika had, without Hanyu, by the way, and starts killing herself and Rika over and over, resetting the timeline to when Rika first brings up wanting to go to that school so that she can change her mind and decide to stay in the village with her instead. Now, it's already super selfish of her to want to stop Rika from being happy just because you don't like the school she picked, but Satoko also finds out how much suffering Rika went through to find the perfect timeline, and Satoko does not care. Rika finds out about Satoko time traveling, and instead of stopping, Satoko decides to just make Rika suffer even more. I don't care that Rika's her best friend, and they've been through a lot together. Satoko basically turns into a yandere for Rika, and I'm supposed to feel bad for her because Rika neglected her in school? No! Satoko is so OOC in this series that I started hating the little blonde turd. And I haven't watched Sotsu, the sequel to Go. I was planning on it, but if Satoko is still a psychopath, then I might reconsider it. Also, the other main characters that were super important in the original anime are hardly even relevant whatsoever in Go. It's like they weren't even there majority of the time. It was just the Rika and Satoko show. I spent too much time on this. I'm giving Higurashi Gou a 5 out of 10. I'd highly recommend the 2006 anime, but not this one. Moving on. First season released in 2019, but season 2 was released last year, so I thought I'd discuss it. I really like this series, and honestly, I couldn't tell you why. It's a harem anime, and I usually avoid those because I'm not into them, but I read the manga and I really liked it. Also, maybe since it's a harem where the guy actually picks a girl to be with in the end, and it doesn't just drag on or end without the guy ever picking someone, that's a reason I like it. And the manga is finished, and while I won't spoil who Futaro marries in the end, for people who are anime only, I can say with confidence that I'm very happy with his choice. But this show is about 5 identical sisters who all fall in love with their tutor, Futaro. Futaro isn't unique and is a typical harem protagonist, but he's at least aware that the girls like him, and he picks the one that he likes back. Of course, there was jealousy, but in the end, they're sisters, and they'd never hurt each other over a boy. Ichika! The sisters aren't all that unique on the surface either. Ichika's for the guys that like the big sister trope, Nino is for the masochists that like tsunderes, Miku is for the dudes that enjoy the shy, submissive types, Yotsuba is sporty, and Itsuki is the quote-unquote smart one. But really, she's just the one you pick when you want someone simple and typical in all honesty. She's like the main girl in a harem. But they do have things about their characters outside of the tropes they fit. Ichika's my least favorite sister, but I can admit that she has character outside of the big sis personality. She is the oldest by a couple minutes and feels obligated to step up and take care of her younger siblings. When they moved out of their father's apartment to get their own place, Ichika was the first to get a job so they wouldn't get evicted. Nino was my least favorite before Ichika took her place, but she grew on me over time. She seems like a typical tsundere, but being the second oldest and loving her sisters more than anything, she just wants to protect them and doesn't want outsiders ruining the life she and her siblings have. Family is pretty much everything to her. And Yotsuba, on the outside, seems like nothing but the stupid and sporty girl, but actually has a deep sadness in her that she doesn't want to show anyone. To her, Her sisters and their happiness is all that matters, and she sacrifices her own happiness for them constantly. I think another reason I like this series more than other harems is because these girls are sisters. They're not just a bunch of random girls fighting over main character Kun. When they hurt each other, Ichika, it's a lot more painful because they're family. They gotta go back home to the same apartment later, and you're being a conniving little bitch to your sister like that. Well, this was long. I'd recommend the Quintessential Quintuplets for anyone into harem anime, or if you just want to see cute girls that actually have a personality. I'm also surprised that this show barely had any fan service. It's amazing. And while I already know what's gonna happen since I read the manga, I'd still like to check out the movie when it releases. 7 out of 10. And finishing off our list, we have Season 2 of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon-Maid, which I didn't enjoy as much as Season 1. I reviewed Season 1, but never made a video about it. I'll link it down below for anyone interested in reading it, though. Now, onto my thoughts about it. There's this character that was quite controversial when the season first started. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about if you know anything about this anime, but I'm talking about Ilulu for those who don't know. I don't like Ilulu. Her character design is a big factor because there's honestly no reason for her to look the way she does. I mean, they gave a reason, but it's not a good reason, in my opinion. I thought Lukoa's boobs were too much, but Ilulu was crossing the line, especially since she's supposed to be a child. And you might tell me that she's actually supposed to be an adult and the same age as Toru, who, by the way, is apparently 16 herself, so she's not an adult either. But given the way she acts the majority of the time, acting extremely childish and wanting to go to kindergarten with Kana at some point, and how other characters call her a kid, well, I'm inclined to think she is a child. But then she does creepy things like giving Kobayashi a, peeny weenie, and saying she wants to have sex with her, or when she flirts with a high school boy and jiggles her bowling balls in his face. So, which is it? Is she a kid or an adult? Or just an over-sexualized child, because I've heard some things about the author that I wish I didn't know. Other than Ilulu, I guess this season was okay. Lukoa's relationship with Shota still makes me uncomfortable, and so does that little girl that hangs out with Kana. The highlight of the season was Toru and Elma's interactions. If I could have more of that and less of this, then I'd probably like it more. If this anime gets a season 3, I probably won't watch it, but I watched this one since I watched season 1 and I didn't get much enjoyment out of it. Still like the music though, 5 out of 10. And that concludes Britt's discussions on her recent anime viewings. Do you agree with any of my opinions? Do you disagree? Feel free to share in the comments, but keep it civil. Until next century when someone decides to upload again. See you later.